Welcome back to the channel, guys. In this video I want to talk about chamois in 9.2 and specifically the enhancement chamois. I've been playing enhancement since I think Wrath of the Lich King. In the beginning of Shadowlands I played a little bit of elemental, but I didn't like it too much, so I switched back to enhancement in I think 2 weeks. So I've played a lot and I'm really looking forward to 9.2 and the changes that have been made. So to get into it, the most important changes is that Lava Lash cooldown has been reduced. Also, Lava Lash will be spreading your flame shocks and it can renew your flame shocks. It will spread it up to 3 enemies, and when you use it, the current flame shock on it will be refreshed to the full duration of 18 seconds again, which is really nice. This is actually one of the best changes they have made so far. Another one is that Flame Shock can be applied to 6 targets max, which is pretty nice. Frost Shock damage has been increased by 40%, and another nice change is Feral Spirits. They no longer take up a totem slot, so it used to be possible that if you had a Feral Spirit up, or 2 with your Elemental Spirits, and you had 2 totems up, if you cast a third totem, or with the new set bonus, if you have a proc and you get another feral spirit, one of the spirits will disappear, or one of your totems will disappear. They now have disconnected the feral spirits from the totem slots, so you just have 4 totem slots, and your feral spirits are a part of this. That's pretty nice. Just a quality of life upgrade. And then 2 smaller changes: your Eye Strike can correctly trigger Flame Tongue, and Sundering can trigger Flame Tongue and Stormbringer. There has also been an update in one of the legendaries, which is the Ventir legendary. Up to 5 friendly targets healed by Chain Harvest will have a Riptide cast on them, and 5 enemy targets will have that will be damaged by Chain Harvest will have a Flame Shock cast on them. And the biggest part is the next part, which is that Flame Shock critical strikes reduce the cooldown of Chain Harvest by a second. Now this is the most important part, and I will tell you why when we get to the legendaries we will use. The set bonus for these chamois is Storm Spirit. The 2 set bonus is that spending your Maelstrom, you have a 3% chance per stack to summon a Feral Spirit for 9 seconds. So it's just a shorter duration. Normally it's 15 seconds with Feral Spirits. This will be a 9 seconds and you will summon 1. But you have a 3% chance per stack to summon 1. So every time you spend it and you use the 5 Maelstrom to get an instant cast, it will have a 15% chance to summon a spirit, which is pretty nice. And the 4 set bonus is that your feral spirits, their attacks have 20% chance to trigger Stormbringer, which will reset your cooldown on Storm Strike. To get into the build, obviously the Covenant I'm running for Mythic Plus is what we're doing here. This will be Ventir. This will be the best. Together with the changes they have made and the upcoming changes to the build, there is a really strong build possible. There's actually multiple builds possible. I'm just running this one because I like it. Others might work better. The Doomwinds build is still possible. That will have a higher burst potential and do better in single target. The build I run is the Fire build, as it's known. And that will be more of a sustained AoE damage, but I really like the playstyle of this, so I'm going with this build. There's a ton of builds possible. I think in 9.2 every Covenant is actually possible to run a Mythic Plus or a Raid build with. There are some really nice builds out there, go check it out. But for this one I will be talking about the Fire build. Now to get into it, we will be using Lashing Flames in the first row. This will boost the damage of your Flame Shock by 100%. It will be a debuff on the target, so you will be tap targeting to spread your Flame Shocks and spread your Lashing Flames debuffs. So your Flame Shock damage will be insanely high. Then we will play Hot Hand in the next row to make sure that when you get a proc, your Flame Shock damage will be increased because you can spread your Lashing Flames debuff quicker, and also your damage of Lava Lash is increased. The damage on your Lava Lash will not be too important. It's basically just to keep your Lashing Flames debuff up on as many targets as possible. The next row is anything you can choose. I just like to run Static Charge. Then in the 35 row, you will take Fire Nova. This will be an important one. This will deal a lot of damage. Your Flame Shock, targets with your Flame Shock on them will explode and deal damage to everyone close to them. And since you can spread your Flame Shock easily, you will have a Fire Nova cast off a lot of enemies quicker. Then the next row is again up to your preference. I like to run Nature's Guardian. The 45 row, the best one is Sundering for both Mythic Plus and single target. And in the last row, normally you would run Ascendance for some more AoE damage. But in 9.2 you will like to run Elemental Spirits. The cooldown will be reduced and you can have spirits with Fire, Frost or Lightning, which will increase the abilities of those nature. So if you get a Fire Wolf, you will have 20% increased damage on your fire spells, which is your Fire Nova, your Lava Lash, and your Flame Shock. Since these three, especially Fire Nova and Flame Shock, will be the highest of your damage anyway, they will be increased even further. If you have two wolves, they will stack. You will have 40% increased. If you're lucky and you get a Fire Wolf with your set bonus, that will increase it as well. Then for the Conduits, I like to run them this way. I like to run Theodar for a few things. First up is the Soothing Shade. It will give you a big mastery buff, which will increase your fire damage as well. You will run Magma Fist for the increased critical strike chance of your Lava Lash against targets with your Flame Shock. You will use Lava Lash on targets with your Flame Shock anyway to spread it and to give them the debuff. So this will just give your Lava Lash a bit more damage to it. As first, I run the Condensed Anima Sphere. I just really like this one for Mythic Plus. I like to take the Refreshing Waters to have a bit more healing on myself if needed. The Thunderous Paws to get a small speed boost to get out of things if you need to get out of it. This will give you a small boost in the first 3 seconds that you use your Ghost Wolf. And this one is a really big one, the Wasteland Propriety. This will give everyone hit by your Chain Harvest, or at least your Chain Harvest will start tea time. You don't even have to heal them as long as they're close to you. You will give them a 3% versatility boost up to 4 nearby allies. So in Mythic Plus this will mean that if your team is close together, which you practically always are, you will buff them with 3% versatility. This will have a big uptime, and I will show you why in a second. The next one I like to run is Lavish Harvest. The critical strike chance of Chain Harvest is increased by 15.5%. Now if you have a crit with Chain Harvest, for every crit you have, the cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. Now I have 29% crit, so 15.5, that will be 45.5% critical strike chance on your Chain Harvest, but it will hit 5 enemies, but also 5 allies, so it hits 10 times. So you possibly have 4 to 5 hits on average, might be a bit higher or a bit lower if you're lucky or unlucky, but this will get the cooldown 20 to 30 seconds lower every time you use it. So it won't be 1.5 minutes or 1 minute and 30 seconds. It will be down to 1 minute and 10 seconds, 1 minute and 5 seconds if you're lucky. The next one I run is the Totemic Search. Cooldown of your Tremor Totem, Earthbind Totem, Capacitor Totem are reduced by 12 seconds. Together with the talent Static Charge, You can get a lot more stuns off with your capacitor totem. And the last one is party favorites, which is actually pretty nice. You will get a random buff. It can be, let's see where my T is, right there. Um, Consuming it, you will get a agility, haste, crit, or first boost. Let's see what we get. We get 3% first now. And for the legendaries I use, and this is the fun part, you have the Clasp of Unity um, with the Fentir legendary that we talked about before. So every time your Flame Shock will critically strike, your Chain Harvest cooldown will be reduced by a second. That's why you use the Elemental legendary Fiery Skybreaker's Molten Band. This will give your Flame Shocks a 50% increased critical strike chance. 50% means that my crit will be almost 80% on Flame Shocks. This means that if I spread it on 6 targets, or let's say 5 targets for the easy maths, if I spread it on 5 targets, every time it hits, I will have 4 crits and 1 that's a normal hit. Which means every time it hits, 4 seconds will go off of my Chain Harvest cooldown. Flame Shock hits every 3 seconds, I think. So that would be every 3 seconds, 4 seconds of my Chain Harvest cooldown go down. That is insane and will give you a lot of Chain Harvest procs. Now let's get into it and actually show you how it works. So you Flame Shock, you spread it, and then you go into the normal rotation. Now I like to spread my Flame Shocks as quick as possible with my Chain Harvest as well, and then just try to tap target to hit everything that you can that has a Flame Shock on it. And then it's just the basic rotation you always use. Now I have a Fire Wolf up, so my fire damage will be increased, which is nice, and you can see that's another Chain Harvest. And as you can see, Chain Harvest is coming off cooldown again. And there's a Chain Harvest again. So in this fight so far I've only pressed Flame Shock once, as my Lava Lash will keep the Flame Shock on it, refresh it, and spread it. Now don't forget to tap target, as I am doing at the moment. I forgot a few times, so you do need to tap target. I need to get used to that. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. You just tap target to a target that doesn't have the Lashing Flames debuff on it, and you change target after you have hit it. Now we have another Chain Harvest there. And we get back into the normal rotation and wait for Chain Harvest again. Here we go, another Lashing Flames debuff. And as you can see, Chain Harvest is off cooldown, but I don't have Maelstrom. There we go, another hit. Now I did not use my Elemental or Feral Spirits too much. I only used it once at the start of the fight. This one took 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Now you can see Riptide has a 91% uptime, which is pretty nice. The Wasteland Propriety has a 74% upgrade, so 2 minutes 40 into the fight, and 2 minutes of that fight we had a 3% buff on the entire team, which is insane. It's really strong. Now you can see that this is the damage breakdown. I had 9 chain harvests in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Let's see how much that is for every chain harvest. That's 160 seconds divided by 9. That is 1 chain harvest every 17 to 18 seconds, I think, which is, it's really nice. It's a cooldown of 1.5 minutes, and it gets down to 17 or 18 seconds. That's pretty good. Now there is one other way you can play this. Right now I had about 18k damage. There's one thing you can change up, and that is the Lavish Harvest. You can change this one up with Focused Lightning to get your Maelstrom weapons to increase the damage of the next spell you use. So if you do this, you will have a 10.5% increased hit on your Chain Harvest, or increased damage. So let's see what it was right now. The average hits, normal hits on average were 9.2k, 9.3, and crits were 19.2, which is pretty nice. Now let's see what this does to it. Let's just get a Chain Harvest in there. Not really going for the DPS, just want a Chain Harvest. There we go, that's one. Let's get one more. Cooldown is coming back again. There it is, that's 2. Now it did 12.9k instead of the, let's see, 12.9 for normal hit instead of 9.3. And that's just the flame shocks. I think, yeah, I need this one. And for crits we had an average of 25.7k. Now if you do this, the uptime of your Riptide will be a bit lower. You see it's 69%, so about 70%, but I only had 2 casts. I had 2 casts in almost 40 seconds, 37 seconds, so the cooldown was a bit lower, but this gets your damage a bit higher, I think. Another interesting thing to do is you might even change out your Lava Lash for the Lavish Harvest. This will make the cooldown even lower and give you higher damage on it, but you will not have increased critical strike chance on your on the Lava Lash. Now let's see, in this fight, Lava Lash was pretty low. The damage wasn't too high, so I might run it like this to have the highest uptime on Chain Harvest and the buffs that it gives for the entire group, and just to have the highest possible damage on it I can get. Now let's see if we can do a 3-minute fight and see how much we get. Get the wolves out. There we go, Chain Harvest to spread flame shocks as well, and there we go. Now let me not forget to tap target as well. I also should keep in mind to keep my Crash Lightning going. That will help out with some damage as well. And another Chain Harvest. There we go. And we have a Fire Wolf, which is nice. A lot of Stormbringer procs there. Go. Let's go on for 30 more seconds and see where we end up. Okay, there we go. 20.4k damage, which is pretty nice. And as you can see, well, it's still going a little bit as my flame shocks are still up. The Chain Harvest is now the biggest damage that you have. I did have 10 casts in 3 minutes. So that is once every 18 seconds, which is really good. And on average, it did 17.1k damage, which is really nice. Then we have the Flame Shock second. The Flame Shocks are just insane. If I focus more on the tap targeting, I can get a lot more damage in there, I think. My Flame Shocks will deal a bit more. Third one is Fire Nova, and the fun thing, the fourth one is Crash Lightning. As I said, I need to keep my Crash Lightning up. This will help you with a little bit of AoE damage as well. Your Crash Lightning won't deal too much damage itself, but it will give your Lava Lash, your Storm Strike some damage, some AoE damage on others. And your melee hits as well, which is pretty nice. Sundering. Storm Strike's pretty high actually now. I had a lot of Stormbringer procs thanks to the set bonus, which was really nice. And yeah, this looks really good. I think I might keep it like this with the Conduits. I'm not entirely sure. I might keep it like this, or I might get the Magma Fist into this one. I will have to test it out. I think for the first week, or for the first weeks that we play, that there is no double legendary yet. I will use the Skybreakers, Fiery Skybreakers Molten Band, to get increased critical strikes on my Flame Shocks. But I will probably run it like this, with Magma Fist and Focus Lightning, as I cannot use the Lavish Harvest too much, as I will have to wait for it to come off cooldown. So I think this will be the best for the first weeks. And then I have to test it in different Mythic Plus keys to see if I do change up the Conduit or not. So I might keep it like this if it works out really good. but at least for the first week I will do it like this. And my talents for Mythic Plus will stay the same. It will basically stay like this. I might change it a little bit to Windrush Totem if it's needed, or if we need a bit more healing to Earth Shield, just to have a bit more uptime on some heals. Other than that, this is what I will be playing in Mythic Plus. Hope you liked the video. Um, if there's anything you want to see, leave it in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the chamois in 9.2, and let me know how you are going to play it. This was it for this video. I will make another video on the raid spec that I will do, as I will be raiding in 9.2 again. And yeah, I will see you all in the next one.